What is up, YouTube? This is Owen Dowell here. Today we're going to be revisiting the 1935 replica Zippo. Yes, I have a video up on the 1935 replica, but to be honest, it is not that great. So this is going to be the new and improved review of the 1935 replica. So the 1935 replica is replicating one of the first ever publicly available Zippo lighters to the market. It's one of the first designs that was actually available retail, and as a result, it's really cool. This is also my favorite of the replicas because it is the most accurate of the replicas. It very accurately depicts what Zippos were like in 1935, which is why I absolutely love it so much. So, here it is. It's this one on the left. You can see that it does come in a unique box. Here's a standard Zippo black box, which just has the Zippo logo on it and the chimney pattern. Whereas this one has a picture of Wendy. It says windproof Zippo lighter, a week's trial, then all the while. Which at one point I knew what that phrase meant, but I have forgotten what that phrase meant. So if any of you would like to enlighten me in the comments what that phrase means, that would be fantastic. You can see the back here is actually on the replica boxes. It's just the same back that you have on the original regular modern Zippo boxes. It's just the lid that's different. So this one here is a modern one that we'll be comparing it to here in a minute. But if I go ahead and open it, this is what the 1935 replica looks like. There it is, as you can see. So let's go ahead and let's take it out. This one happens to be the one with the slashes on it. And as you can see, if you have a modern Zippo with you, you will notice immediately this Zippo looks quite a bit different. It's very square. And one thing that might not be completely noticeable to you right now is that this is also quite a bit shorter than a modern Zippo. So here's a modern Zippo, just to give you a look at that. This is the American Classic model, which is a very, very beautiful Zippo model. And let's go ahead and take it out, and we will go ahead and compare the 1935 in terms of height to the modern Zippo. And you will see, especially if we square it up, that the 1935 is considerably shorter. It's also very shiny, as you can see. So it's also got flat edges on it. In fact, all the differences are listed here on the back of the iCard. You can see that this is reproducing the look of one of Zippo's earliest models. The 1935 replica has the following retro features, which you will see are the flat surface on the top and bottom. So we do have the flat top and the flat bottom. We've got the shorter Zippo body. It's 1/8 inch shorter than the current Zippo lighters. It does have, in this case, it does have decorative diagonal grooves. Now you can buy the 1935 replica without these grooves. It actually is on both sides, as you can see. If you do buy the one without the slashes, I do not know if that bullet point will be omitted or not. That's one thing I've always wondered. It does have very, very, as you can see, the modern day Zippo has these nice kind of rounded corners. All right, it's very ergonomic to feel and hold, as you can see. Nothing really sharp or pointy about it. It's all very rounded. It's very comfortable to hold, very ergonomic. Whereas back then, you can see we've got very sharp, pointy corners. They're not like totally sharp, but they do. That is noticeably pointier. If I feel it with my pointer finger here, it's noticeably pointier. And you'll also see that the edges are a lot sharper. They're a lot more of a dramatic change in direction. There's less of a rounded there. Now, obviously, it is a little bit rounded for comfort. But as you can see, it's a lot less rounded. So it's not uncomfortable to hold. If I stick it in my pocket real quick, like I don't really feel it poking against any of the parts of my pocket. Even if I like turn it to try to poke like my leg with the corners, it's not like unbearably, like it's not that uncomfortable. So there is that. So if you did want to EDC these, that might not be as big a concern as you might think. We have a 3-barrel hinge. Now, what that means is if you take a look at the hinge here, first of all, you will notice that this hinge is external. Modern Zippos have internal hinges. If you take a look, you can see that you can see where the hinge is on this Zippo. You can see where it's been attached to the Zippo. Whereas on this one, you can see that it's been attached internally. Those two divots there are actually just where it's been spot welded. All right, those aren't dents, those are spot weld marks. Whereas this one, you can see, has been spot welded to the outside. So if we go ahead and open this one up, you can take a look at the inside. You can see where the hinge has been welded onto the body, right in there. But the other thing that I was talking about is the fact that we have 3 barrel hinges. You can see that there are 1, 2, 3 sections that make up the actual hinge itself. Modern Zippos have 5 barrel hinges. You can see 5 sections there. Whereas with this one, we only had 3 back then. It was a much simpler design in that respect. And finally, we have the hollow rivet of the flint wheel. So if we open this Zippo, you will see that you can actually see that the pin has a hole in it. It is hollow back there. Alright, that is not the case on today's Zippos. Today's Zippos are, in fact, solid. Now, one thing you might have noticed is that when I opened it, the sound of this Zippo is very, very different to that of a Zippo that you're used to. This is what a modern Zippo sounds like. If we go ahead and pop it open, you hear a nice little tink noise. Let's do that again. All right. And if we open this one up, it still kind of has a little tink noise, but it's definitely a lot less pronounced. Another thing that the external hinge does is, you might have noticed, it kind of affects the action when you open the Zippo. Now, one thing you'll notice immediately is that the lid of the Zippo will go all the way back and even extend a little bit past where these 2 lines are horizontal. Whereas with this one, the hinge kind of creates a nice stop. As you can see, it kind of, the lid doesn't go down all the way. In fact, it stops right there. Whereas with this one, the lid goes past that point, and you can see that it creates a angle that's beyond 180 degrees. All right. And another thing is that because of the way that the hinge is designed, if I push up on the lid, this is where I start feeling resistance. All right. You can see that. You don't get a whole lot of wiggle room because of the way that the cam is interacting with the lid. All right. So with today's Zippos, if I go ahead and open it, if I tip it up, you'll see that it goes that far up before I start feeling resistance. Whereas with this one, you have to overcome that resistance earlier on when you're closing it. It's not really that big a deal, but like even now when I'm holding it, I can actually feel the lid. The cam is applying pressure to the lid, so I do feel it kind of trying to spring downwards. It's a very unusual feeling Zippo. It doesn't feel like what today's Zippos feel like at all, because the lid is always trying to go down to like this angle. So you feel it kind of squeezing you a little bit. Like this finger I can feel is being just ever so slightly squeezed as the lid is trying to come down the rest of the way, which is very interesting and very unusual. If we take a look at the bottom stamp on one of these, you'll see that it actually also goes so far as to replicate the period correct bottom stamp. You'll see we got the block font Zippo logo. This particular one was made in 2012. I think that is a July of 2012 date stamp. You can see 1935 replica, made in USA, Zippo Manufacturing Company, Bradford, Pennsylvania. All right. Now the insert is also a little bit different. If I go ahead and take the insert out, it's very subtle. Obviously, we do know that the pin here is hollow, but the actual shape of the insert is very slightly different. If you take a look at the sides of it, it's not noticeable really if you're not looking for it, but this is a flat edge, whereas with this one, you can see it is a more rounded edge. What that means is that you cannot take a replica insert and put it into a modern Zippo body. It won't fit. It's just slightly differently shaped to where it will not go in. I bet if you forced it enough, you might be able to get it in, but this is not designed to go into that body. Now, it is actually going to work vice versa. You can take a modern day Zippo insert. You can see this one doesn't have the hollow pin, and you can put it into the replica body. It fits just fine, all right? But you can see how much room you have in there, okay? But you can't do it the other way around. You can't put this insert into that body. It's not going to work. So that's just another interesting, you can see the fit with the modern Zippo. That's just another interesting difference between a modern day Zippo and the Zippo 1935 replica. Now, in terms of the way that the insert is marked, it's marked like a modern Zippo. You can see it does have March of 2012 markings on it. It's marked in the same way that Zippos today are marked. They didn't do the thing where they made it sideways like that. But you can also see where it has the little divot, although this one is kind of subtle. I don't know if that was on purpose or not, but back then these probably did not have these little divots on the actual insert itself to keep it snug within the case. Now there is one more thing I wanted to touch on. If you take a look, this Zippo has a brushed chrome finish. Now if you're familiar with Zippo's brushed chrome, you'll notice that this one looks kind of weird. Here's a regular, like a modern day brushed chrome Zippo. It's a little scratched up, but you can see they're very different. This one actually kind of is reflective. You can see that post right there. I'm out here on a porch. There's one of the posts being reflected. Whereas on this one, you can see it's a little bit more diffused, all right? This one is just a little bit more reflective than modern day Zippo examples. So that's just one thing that is also a little bit different. The finish on here, despite being a brushed chrome, is a little bit different than the modern day brushed chrome Zippos. This one happens to be my very first ever Zippo that I ever bought. So it happened to be a brushed chrome, so I figured I'd bring it out for this video. But anyway, guys, I do believe that I have covered everything that I wanted to cover in this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please let me know what you thought of it in the comments down below. Be sure to rate, comment, and subscribe. And yeah, thank you so very much for watching, and adios.